Hello everyone, welcome back to another art time lapse. Today's piece is a Studio Ghibli inspired fan art piece, and it was something that's kind of out of the blue. I didn't have a lot of plans for it initially, but it's called Growing Outside the Frame. It stemmed from the concept of like thinking outside the box, and I was thinking like, how can I paint that? How can I conceptualize that? And I was like, maybe I can put a little spin on it, and instead of a box, it'll be a frame. So here I am laying out the groundwork of where all the characters will go. I usually use a very washed down wash paint to lay out where everything is instead of using color pencils to draw it out. I start with a lighter color first and then move on to darker colors, and then I usually go back with some lighter colors to add some highlights. So just to give you a slight idea of how I approach this. So once I stake out where all the frames are, I'm now gonna add some greenery that's gonna grow out of these frames. I was contemplating about like what kind of flowers or plants I should have, but to be honest, I think if I wanted to make this a little bit more special, I would have spent more time conceptualizing like the symbolism behind certain plants and herbs. I think that would make the painting just so much more interesting to a whole nother level. But when I painted this, like I mentioned before, it wasn't originally planned. I just had a block of time that I didn't intend and my kids were still asleep, and I was like, I should really take advantage of this and paint. So lesson learned is that it's really good to plan ahead about what pieces I may want to paint in the future, so that when the gap of time surfaces, I can take full advantage of that time and know what I'm painting. But here I was painting on the fly. I was super nervous. I'm like, okay, I have time. I really need to paint. And like, luckily, I think it kind of turned out the way I wanted. I noticing that being a mommy, over time, I'm having less and less time to paint because my younger kids are just not napping as much, so I have to spend more time with them. Really missing that napping time when I got to have my own mommy time. So I don't know how much that will affect my artist journey coming up if I'll have less time to paint. With that said, I think like getting to watch my kids grow and play with them is also like a privilege. So I think maybe my art may have to take a sideline coming up and take a break while I help these little ones kind of figure out how to navigate the world. So in anticipation for that, I hope to put together some YouTube videos of my artist process for the next few years, maybe a year in advance, so that you'll get to see some of my artwork while I'm doing my mommy things and trying to navigate through this motherhood journey. So here you can see I'm using like a lot of greens, which I know that like Totoro itself is not a green animal, but like I think it'll be nice if there's a harmony between the plants and Totoro, that there is a similar glow for the main character and the rest of what's there on the art piece. I actually really enjoy painting these small flowers on. I decided to use yellow, greens, and purples as the main theme for this piece. But going back, I think like it's really important to think about like what color scheme you want for your piece before then. Also added in some butterflies to make the piece less stagnant, so it's more fluid, like there's butterflies flying out of frame or like in and out between the different flowers on this piece. I've also added a watering can for Totoro and also a ladder on the side. So the concept is that he's climbing up the ladder and watering all of these frames and watching them grow. from here you can see the piece is slowly coming together. I'm using a burnt umber to create shadows rather than like a dark black. I think it creates more dimension that way. I don't really like the hardness of like black. And then of course, when I wrapped up my gouache, I also use archival ink from Sakura Jelly Rolls to add highlights and outline for the piece, which over the years I really enjoyed that part of the process as well. So here is the final piece. I hope you enjoyed the Studio Ghibli inspired fan art. This piece is called Growing Outside the Frame. I certainly hope all of you will continue to think outside the box and think of what if and like what else is out there. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this art time lapse, and I'll see you next time. Take care and stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.